I'm renting a pad where it would cost me 175 to 200% the current monthly to buy. Is it worth purchasing in a smaller city where rental increases are capped at 7%? Alternatively, I could put the difference into other hard assets, Bitcoin, Tesla, and I know you recommend three-legged stool. I only have two. So as I say, everybody needs real estate. It's a long game, but it's worth it. Let's talk about the situation you have. First of all, I don't have the full info. I don't know where you are. I don't know if you are in another country, in another state. I don't know the markets over there, but I will make some assumptions just to help people get the importance of renting versus buying real estate. So in California, you can buy $1 million home or a home for $1 million. The cost to rent is about $5,000 for the same home. And typically right now with underwriting restrictions for mortgage companies, you got about 20% down. And you have to pay, at least if you want a 30-year fixed mortgage, 7.1%. So this is our real estate model. It's available on Patreon. I punch your numbers in. And just to give you a little example, anybody can play around with the existing numbers, like what type of mortgage you have, how much down payment you make, what are the closing costs, how much you're borrowing, the opportunity cost of that, etc. You can build it out from multi-unit properties as well. It's real simple. But here, in this particular example, the most important thing I want you to focus on is if you pay rent today, your net living costs, if you bought the place, assuming it's $1 million instead of a $5,000 rent, assuming it's all parallel, maybe you're in a place where the rent is $2,000, not $5,000, but then the properties are maybe $400,000 instead of $1 million. Your buying costs of owning the property would be $7,056. And this includes things like tax benefits, of deductibility of mortgage interest and and property taxes and a whole bunch of other factors. So that is key as well. So think about that. But the real crux of the story that you need to think of is this, okay? Now, there's a lot of people in this situation. I know a lot of people that have been renting for 20, 30 years, and they wouldn't think of doing anything else. They don't want the headache of owning property. But let me just share with you some numbers as to why it's good. So if your rent goes up by 7%, real estate on average goes up 8% in the United States over the last 70 years per year. Property taxes remain flat if you're in a place like California. Your mortgage typically falls over time as you pay it back. I prefer to do interest-only mortgages because I want to keep my cash to invest. But the value of property rises. Your rent rises as well. Now, after 20 years, this is simple math, simple net present value, or just a simple amount of payments you have. After 20 years of owning, you will now have approximately a $4.7 million asset. That $1 million house after 20 years will be worth at least, call it $5 million. It's going to 5x in 20 years. And that's the power of compounding real estate. But after 20 years of renting, you'll have paid out $2.45 million and own nothing. Sounds like a WEF commercial, isn't it? You will be happy and own nothing. That's the difference. Yes, if you own a property, it's a lot of work and maintenance and everything else. But over time, again, the delta between the $4.5 million asset and the minus $2.5 million in payments is massive. So with that as well, I want to show you the Case-Shiller index over the last 20 years. Everything is 3x'd, at least. And it depends on the market you're in. If you're in a market with finite supply, those markets will go up higher. Markets with lots of what I call feeders, things like universities, businesses, etc., hospitals, they are the places to buy. Again, think about a finite place. And finally, the big lesson in real estate, again, your down payment remains fixed. There is an opportunity cost for that. Your mortgage reduces over time. Your rental income increases if you're renting out part of it as well. Your property value increases. And again, minus $2.5 million versus plus $4.5 million. That's the way you need to think. So plug in your own numbers into the model and see where it gets you.